IT infrastructure needs in the PD, since we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be getting IT updates from Simquest. PD needs for necessary today. So, yeah, because the report that was created, she was paid by a contractor to do it. She hasn't been employed. We have had no IT support for her. So just, IT, dedicated IT support person.
Well, Rob is going to present. I assume that Rob's going to present.
He's on the call.
He got the information to join, so. Yeah, he's on there. Okay, folks, we're going to call the City Operations Committee meeting to order. It's now it's July 12th, 2021. The time is 5:05. All members of the committee are present. Obviously, there's a vacancy with the previous chairperson, so for the time being, I'm going to be the chair until we find an opportunity to fill that vacancy or special election, at which then a new chairperson will then be appointed to this committee. I will first take an approval of the minutes of the June 14th, 2021 City Operations Committee. Motion by Councilor Canales, second by Councilor Gibbs. Any changes, deletions, or updates?
No.
Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. We have a number of discussion items that, do you have the rest of my agenda? Sorry. No. Thank you. We have a number of discussion items tonight, along with just a handful of resolutions. The first one is ClearGov. Battaglia, is that his name? Battaglia. Okay, great. Rob Battaglia from ClearGov is here to present on his software, which is a competing product of OpenGov right now. It's a transparency and budgeting software. Yeah, can go here. Hey Rob, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Great, yeah. Can you turn them up a little bit, Ethan?
Just let me know when you want me to get started.
Yeah, go ahead, Rob. It's on you.
Perfect. Well, thank you all so much for allowing me the opportunity to present ClearGov to the committee and to the city. Just for some background, I've been speaking with the mayor and City Chamberlain Richard Marks about our company, and they asked me to present today at the committee meeting. Just for some quick background, our company ClearGov, we're a cloud-based budgeting software company, and all of our software is designed to serve as a complement to the city's existing accounting system, which is Munis. So we're not looking to change anything there. We're looking to really just give the city an extra set of tools to make it easier to not only communicate the budget internally and externally, but also potentially save you some time building the budget as well. I'm going to be walking the committee through our transparency software, which, as the mayor said, is a different alternative to the OpenGov platform that the city was using. And we'll also take a look at some of the other modules that the city might be interested in adding in addition to the transparency solution. So I want everyone who's looking at the screen right now to imagine off of the city's website, just like you had a link to the OpenGov platform, you could have something similar to access the ClearGov platform. So again, it could be a simple link like you have at the bottom of the website, or you could have our team maybe create for you a really nice, beautiful button or banner to access the platform. But either way, our transparency software essentially is going to take a digital cloud-based approach to communicating not just the city's budget information, but really any kind of performance metrics you want to include as part of that transparency initiative. So this is really a customizable platform, but out of the box, there will be some ingredients, so to say, that we'll start you off with. And one of the first things you'll notice with the transparency platform is a demographic snapshot. What comes with this is really the city's demographic data, which we have taken from the Census Bureau, which you're actually looking at right now. This is the city's live census data. And we've broken it down into a much more interactive and infographic based way. So this is the city's full-time population breakdown. This would all be included in your transparency platform. We believe including information like this, in addition to your budget information, provides context and helps tell a story to residents and stakeholders internally. That's your full-time population. Here's your daytime population breakdown as well. Obviously, it's a lot higher than your full-time population for a lot of obvious reasons. Your population age group distribution. Again, everything's in a really interactive and easy to understand format. Your household information broken down. Again, everything's in an understandable format, but there's also context behind the statistics. So when someone's actually looking at this information, they actually know what the numbers really mean. Your economic information like household income distributions and again, state average context on the right-hand side, as well as your housing stats as well. So this is the city's demographic data. You know, a lot of communities who maybe leverage this data to show residents, sometimes they just put the numbers on the website. With our platform, you're gonna get it in a really beautiful, interactive and infographic-based way out of the box on day one. In addition to the demographic data, we're going to take the city's budgeted information, and it doesn't really matter what the source is, whether it's an Excel spreadsheet, whether it's Munis, or if you're building the numbers themselves in ClearGov. We're going to take that data and break it down into a really easy to understand and infographic based way, which is what we're looking at right now. And in addition to the infographics, which can include commentary and context around the statistics, we'll break it down into interactive charts and graphs, contrasting budget versus actuals. And if you're using our budget software, you can even include forecasted figures in there as well. In addition to the revenues and expenses budget versus actuals, you can show really whatever you want on this platform. You could show capital project updates on a map of the city. You could maybe show your fund balance information broken down, your debt information broken down, as well as maybe even open checkbook level data if you want to show check level details. So this is a customizable platform. From the fiscal transparency perspective specifically, and I'm going to go to a client account here, this is all interactive. So when a viewer, again, could be a member of a committee, a department head, or a member of the public goes onto the platform, we can come into here and everything's interactive in real time. So we can come in here and rather than looking at the budget online to get an understanding of it, you know, maybe you just want to get a quick snapshot of what's actually happening. That's all interactive here in the platform to understand what's going on. I think an easy way to understand how we take your budget information and your revenue and expense information and kind of break it down, think of it like layers to the onion. So right here, we're looking at more of the snapshot level detail, but if I want to kind of see more of a breakdown of the information, I can either click view breakdown, or I can go up top here to the header and click the button. And now we're taking more of a, like I just said, a layer to the onion approach of viewing the budget. So now we're looking at the city's expenditures. And what's nice is, I'm assuming on some kind of frequent basis, you know, the finance team updates the council on what's actually happening in real time with the budget. So here we're actually seeing that right now. We see the budget was appropriated 47.5 million, but to date we've spent $30 million. That's on the expense side. We could see the same thing for revenues. You can see everything's broken down in a nice, easy to understand format. Everything's interactive and infographic. So you get the best of both worlds. You get the actual numbers as well as the charts and graphs to really just consume the data. Underneath, again, are the layers to the onion. And it's up to the city kind of how you want to structure this. Our team will build the platform out for you, but you'll be able to customize this to your liking. So if you want to show certain things in different ways, you'll be able to do that, but everything's in a really easy to understand format. We can come into here and break down the data. Again, think of it like layers to the onion. There's actually a really cool feature with the platform as well. So you may be noticing everything's broken down on a per capita basis. There's actually a feature with the platform. I'm going to go to the other account here to illustrate this. So if I come into here, I go to expenditures. The city can even turn on a feature where when a resident logs into this and they want to see that a quote unquote layer of the onion breakdown of the budget, rather than looking at it on a per capita basis, a resident could actually type in their property tax bill number. So maybe they pay, I don't know, $6,000 a year in property taxes to the city specifically. And you can actually customize the figures. So you can exclude school taxes and things of that nature. So you actually get an apples to apples breakdown. When I type that in, it'll actually break it down based on my individual contribution. So a resident pays, in this example, $2,300 a year in public safety, 1,500 in public works. And you can, again, provide commentary, context to bring those numbers to life as well. And I'll pause here in a moment before we transition to the other products, but just a couple other things I want to highlight, and then happy to take any questions. In addition to the financial transparency elements of this, and again, there's also that open checkbook component where you can kind of have everything broken down at the check level. There's a whole performance metrics and measurement module within this software here. So with it, you're going to get these things called dashboards. And think of dashboards as a way to just kind of bring non-financial data to life in addition to the budget information we just looked at. So I'll show a couple examples of these. The dashboards are, this could be very decentralized. So you can actually give access to, any element of the city. So it could be departments, it could be a board, it could be whomever. But really, this is a way for those individual elements of the city to communicate non-financial data, whether it's internally or externally. So in this one example, here's a police department dashboard where in this case, the police department and the police chief, they have some kind of mission statement on here, but they're communicating some KPIs, some non-financial statistics here. In this case, it's a 911 call volume. So they're showing that in a nice interactive chart, which is showing it over time here. They also are conveying some crime statistics as well, kind of crime statistic breakdown. But this is a blank canvas to include whatever you want, maybe updates on events. Maybe they also want to communicate some information around their budget. So it's really a blank canvas for that department level entities or board entities to communicate information as well, not just citywide. That's one example. We also have a couple more here. Maybe you have something around perhaps water and sewer. I'll show a quick example here, talking about maybe water distribution, things of that nature. You can kind of show performance in terms of how many residents are being served in this example. In addition to having departments kind of communicate this in a more decentralized way, we can also centralize the communication. So a lot of our clients like to leverage these at the mayor's level or even the finance team's level. So let me show you an example of this. And the mayor in this example may look familiar. In this case, you can communicate information, in the mayor's office, the mayor may choose to communicate information around strategic priorities, for instance, right? This could also be something where you embed videos in it as well. Really, it's a blank canvas to include whatever you want. So think of this as a digital cloud-based version of bringing those performance metrics and statistics and initiatives to life. Really, you can do whatever you want with this platform. The last piece of this is going to be kind of project communication. So just to be candid, I would say, what our clients tell us all the time is that, if there's one thing residents really, really, really want to know about, it's what's happening with those projects, maybe capital projects or ongoing projects. Maybe it's projects that the state or the county is doing, but what about those big projects that are impacting the city and more importantly, impacting residents on a day-to-day basis? So not only do we have an area for financial information, not only do we have an area for kind of non-financial information, but we've got an area for project information as well. So in the transparency platform, you can actually create these project pages and everything's located on a map of the city automatically. And if I go into one of these projects, this is really a blank canvas to bring that project to life. So a lot of this information might be info you're trying to communicate at council meetings or maybe somewhere on the website, but here you can include any images, renderings, attachments with the project, and any additional info that you want to include with it to bring it to life digitally. Obviously showing on a map where the project's taking place, and it doesn't have to be just one location, it can be more of a larger geographic location like a roadwork project, for instance. But you can show kind of what's happening with the project itself in terms of, here's what we've appropriated for the project, particularly these multi-year projects and the CIP, the capital plan, showing projected versus current, as well as what's actually happening over time. You can show kind of what's happening with the phases of the project, who the point of contact is. That comes in handy if you're especially doing some of these projects with another level of government, like the state or a county. Showing timelines, projected versus current actual timelines. It's a blank canvas to include whatever you want around these projects, but you can also have this as a digital communications portal. So in a world where public meetings aren't so public, where residents maybe are going on the Zoom and the website as opposed to going into in-person meetings, sounds like it's a mix of both with the city, but you can actually have residents submit questions through these projects in the transparency platform. Whomever's responsible for the project internally will receive those questions and answers. You can answer those privately and then post the question and answer publicly after the fact. And a resident could even subscribe their email to get updates on the project itself, and those updates will be sent to their email directly. So that's our transparency platform. I was also asked to show a demonstration of a couple of the other modules that the city's also looking at, but let me just pause here before we continue and open up to any questions or comments that the committee members may have.
Are there any questions?
So I don't know if Rob can answer this. I don't know if the mayor can. How will this differ from OpenGov,
Yeah.
which Rochelle Armstrong fought very hard for us to get in council? How will this differ?
In my experience of talking with Rob and Rich, in comparison with the other with the OpenGov, it's a little bit more robust, a lot more interactive in this sense. We've had some serious concerns with OpenGov at this point in terms of the implementation of it, and this is a bit of a deeper dive into that both the transparency piece here as well as the budgeting piece, which I think Rob will get into. Cost-wise, it's comparable. This one is a little bit more expensive, but in terms of the features that are being provided, I believe, and Rich can maybe explain this a little bit better, but the amount that we're paying for OpenGov right now is for one module. The proposal for ClearGov is for two modules, and it costs out a little bit higher for this, but the value for getting both modules is comparable.
How does this fare with integration with Munis compared to OpenGov?
It would be the same.
So there's no difference or variation?
The commenting would still work to draw the information. Be the same.
Hopefully it's a little bit easier to implement because that's been part of our constraint right now.
I personally appreciate the infographic style of layout. It's very simple.
And the thing that I've been impressed about this is the ease of accessibility, as well as being able to click on information and get deeper into that information.
How does information get in there?
Munis.
So it just pulls from Munis?
Correct. Or there's also an opportunity way to include a spreadsheet. So you upload a spreadsheet with information, but we would be looking at a Munis integration.
So one of the things that Rob just talked about is, you know, if we have projects happening or things like that, Munis wouldn't be able to populate that.
No, that's something that we would do manually.
So who would do
department by department. It would either be communications, which we do now. That's what we use now to update website, or individual departments that update their own section on their own on the website now.
Okay.
The OpenGov, that was being done as well. Yesterday, the reports were being done, I believe, by the mayor, maybe some of the council members to send statistics. I think our brother was involved in sending stats to OpenGov and having them loaded up as part of the transparency. I think Rob can confirm that the transparency piece here is half the cost of OpenGov. And I think their whole suite is about 1/3 of the price of the whole suite of OpenGov products. He can confirm that. That's the discussions we had.
Okay.
So this is also a way of cutting costs to provide a similar feature to OpenGov, which we think is actually going to be more versatile than OpenGov. ClearGov, for some reason, wasn't part of the initial discussion of reviews of all the products out there. Don't know how they were overlooked, but I remember discussing it with Michelle Armstrong, that it was an option, that she didn't get a chance to.
So it's not more expensive?
No, less.
Okay. You said
Well,
it was
as a whole, as all of the modules packaged together. All the modules packaged together.
About 22.
Yes, that's right. So these folks, because we only use one module
It would
for,
be 60,000.
correct, we only use one module for OpenGov right now.
18,000.
Correct. The combined modules that we're looking at for this would be slightly more expensive, because we were
Oh,
looking at both
okay.
the
So
budgeting
we'd be
and the
using more.
transparency. Yes.
Okay.
But if we were looking at budgeting and transparency from the other platform, it'd be more expensive.
Got it.
Right? If you compare apples to apples, this is
This one.
less expensive,
Got it.
providing as much, if not more, functionality.
So we'd be getting more and we'd be getting a better package.
I mean, and you can see this, right?
Yeah.
This is a lot of what we talk about every single month, rather than this is updated on a very regular basis that people can come to. You, community members can come and click and start drilling down. into this content, into this data. Rob, do you want to continue on with the budgeting piece?
Yeah, absolutely. And just to kind of summarize, we did a lot of pricing comparisons. I think an easy way to kind of take a look at it is when you compare us apples to apples, we're about 50% cheaper than OpenGov, and you're getting a lot more functionality when you're comparing the actual modules themselves. So that was the transparency piece, which again would be similar to the one you guys had with OpenGov. Now we're going to look at the other modules which you did not have with OpenGov, that the city's also considering adding on, which would all integrate into this transparency platform as well. Rather than reinvent the wheel, I'm going to show a 5-minute video of the budget building software, and then I'll actually show you the document itself to build the budget. So let me just pull that up real quick here.
Jeff.
Welcome to ClearGov. In this video, we'll show you our platform that can streamline collaboration with remote department heads, counselors, and committee members, while also drastically reducing the overall time you spend building and finalizing your budget. To use this platform, you'll send us an Excel export from your ERP system, and we'll upload every line item from the past 3 to 10 years and recreate your accounting structure in our system. Once your data is mapped into ClearGov, we'll generate a budgeting dashboard that looks like this. At the top of the dashboard, you'll see a progress bar which tracks the different phases. As you move through your budget below, you'll see the budgeted total expenditures versus the projected total revenues, and the difference between the two is represented here as a surplus or deficit. Below that, you'll see a trending chart. Dark green represents your actual figures, and the light green represents the budgeted figures. This chart is driven by the spreadsheet below it, so if I click on a section, it'll update the chart. Let's drill into our chart of accounts to an individual line item, and you'll see that I can see the account ID right here, as well as 3 years of historical data. You'll be doing most of your work in the In Progress column right here. Let's go ahead and change the salary line item from $93,000 to an even $100,000 for demonstration purposes. You'll notice that the change was automatically saved, the percentage change is automatically calculated, and all of that rolls up to the parent categories. If I'd like, I can lock this line item so that no one else can edit the salaries. I can also attach a spreadsheet showing the breakdown of those salaries, and it'll share that with anyone with access to this line item. You'll notice that the conversation icon and the paperclip turn green to let us know that there's content there. You can imagine going through and making the initial changes you'll need to make to your budget before preparing it to share with the department heads. When you're ready, you'll save your version, I'll call it our baseline version, and then select Save. You'll notice a new column show up, the baseline column, which essentially codifies all the changes that you've made in that first draft. Now that I have my first draft done, the next thing I'll want to do is invite some department heads to edit their portions of my budget. I'm going to scroll down to the requester section here and add a department head. I've already gone ahead and predetermined someone into the system. I'm going to give them access to their portion of the budget by selecting the box in the chart of accounts. You'll repeat this process for each department leader, assigning them to the appropriate budget responsibilities. Then you'll send an invitation to all of your department leaders. Select who you'd like to include, set a deadline, and even set up email reminders. Then select Send to Requesters, and it will automatically send them an email inviting them into our system to submit their budgets. Let's go take a look at how our department head would submit their department requests. I'm logged into the department head view now, and as you can see, it's very similar to the finance team's view, except that they have access to only their portion of the budget. Here is the line item that we adjusted for full-time salaries, and if I scroll over here to the right, I can see that I cannot edit this line item as it was locked before. I can also see that there's an attachment here, so I can click on this and download that attachment. I can also ask questions or make comments, so maybe we'll need 2 more officers. And then I'll select Save, and that'll send a message to the finance department that there's a note on that line item. Let's go ahead and make another quick change. Our memberships and dues are going to decrease to $500 this year, and I'm going to add a justification. By clicking on this sub-line item detail, I can add a little bit more information and break out the organizations we're a part of and what those dues are. I'm going to make a couple of other quick adjustments to our budget. You can see that a department head would be able to go through here and quickly edit their figures, add justifications, and even add their own PDFs or attachments. At this stage, they could choose to invite sub-requesters who would also give input on specific parts of the budget that this user would then approve or deny, and once they're ready, submit their changes up to the finance team. To do that, we'll simply select Submit, and it's going to ask us to confirm, and we'll select Yes, and it's going to create a new column titled FY22 Requested. But let's go ahead and switch back over to our finance team's dashboard and check out how to approve, edit, and deny those requests. Now I'm logged back in as my finance director, and I can see that my one requester has submitted their request, and I have 59 line items to review. I'll use the breadcrumbs in my status column to help find those items. I may want to check out the comments left by the other user or examine their justifications to help determine how I'll proceed with their line items. But once I have the information necessary, I have 3 options for how to proceed. If I'm okay with the charge, I can click the thumbs up to approve this line item. I can also edit a figure and then click thumbs up, and it'll show us it as edited. Finally, I can click thumbs down to deny this request, and it will revert this figure back to my baseline number. And those are the 3 ways that I can quickly reply to department requests and collaborate with them on this budget. From here, I can send our budget along to counselors or committee members and go through multiple rounds and have them review this or whatever matches your process. Our system is very flexible. I can even run custom reports to be exported to other formats. Now that's a very quick, very high level.
So that was our operational budgeting platform. That would be the system. My understanding of the city's current budget process, a lot of the work takes place outside of Munis. It's very Excel and manually driven. That would be more of a cloud-based approach to, Rich and the mayor kind of sitting down with those department heads, building the budget, and then doing that stage development work with council members, all in a cloud-based format. And that all integrates into the transparency piece. And I know someone asked about Munis earlier. You can download reports out of that software. There's even a Munis export built into our platform. That's how often we work with Munis. We have it built into the system. And then finally, in addition to that, that would be the module to construct the budget, which the city's about to embark on, I imagine, now that we're in July. The city also builds this document we're looking at here, the actual budget document, the budget, or some call it a budget book, the 71-page PDF. There's another module similar to the transparency software, but it's more designed to construct a budget presentation document. That software, called the Digital Budget Book, would take the data from that module that we just watched that video of that built the budget itself and create this document. But instead of getting a PDF budget, we're going to get a digital interactive budget document, which would have, everything you have currently in that PDF, an all fund summary, individual fund summary, department pages, your debt information, a capital plan, and any non-financial content you'd want to include into that. So it would take the general fund, and rather than looking at it maybe like an Excel table or a PDF, we're going to look at it in a digital interactive format. So it would show your revenues broken down, in this case for the general fund, your upcoming revenues by source, broken down in a nice interactive format. So when a council member is trying to understand what the mayor's proposed FY22 budget is, or FY23, or whatever year we're talking about, they can see everything in a nice interactive format to better understand it, but also continue to see that table level detail that you're accustomed to seeing with a budget document. Here's your expenses broken down by both function as well as at the object level as well. You could also have fund balance totals in here. It's a pretty flexible platform. And here's the budget for each department. And just like in the operational budgeting software, where a department is able to actually input their department requests right there into ClearGov, they could do the same thing for any narrative they want to include with their budget. So any missions or goals or descriptions, they can include that along with their budget numbers. And then the last piece, we talked about capital projects in the transparency software. You're actually going to also get a capital budgeting software with our suite. And basically what that would look like is digital request forms. So imagine a department head, they want to send to the council, the mayor, their capital project requests for the upcoming year to include with the multi-year capital plan, they would just log into ClearGov, fill out a form, and it would create a project in our software. And then eventually it'll flow into both the digital budget book and the transparency software and create a one-year capital plan and a multi-year capital plan. I believe this is what the city's capital plan looks like in the current budget document. This is what your digital multi-year capital plan could look like moving forward. Requests broken down by department, by funding source, cost breakdown, savings and revenues, each project itemized by department. Just like we saw project pages for ongoing projects in the transparency piece in your capital plan, you're going to get projects for proposed projects or eventually adopted projects. So what's going to happen? So that's a very quick overview, but that is the other 3 tools the city's looking at. And in total, we looked at transparency, operational budgeting, plus capital budgeting, and then the digital budget book.
Questions? Anybody?
No, that was very comprehensive.
Okay. Next steps on this is to package together some type of resolution and timing for it. I'll work with Rob and Rich on the timing. I don't, we'll work on when this is going to happen, but I don't know if that's going to be 2021 or 2022 by the time. So.
Are we currently paying OpenGov?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
We stopped paying them in June.
Correct.
Okay, so as of now,
We
we're
paid
not
for
paying
them.
them.
Well, we paid for their service. We paid for their service already this year.
Half.
We're just saying half a year.
I understand what Rich is saying.
Just a fact, man, just a fact.
Right, so
So
we're not paying them anymore.
No, we're done with it.
Is there a budget surplus? Or did we pay them the whole year? And we're not getting their services anymore. Is there a budget surplus for this?
$9,000.
So not enough to pick up and pay this package in full.
Transparency piece here was roughly $9,000. Rob, you confirm that.
It's 9,000 for the full year, but just like you paid half a year for OpenGov because you used them for half a year, we would do the same thing. If you wanted to go live with us this year, we would prorate it. So I'm sure
For what piece, Rob? For the transparency and the budgeting?
we could prorate whatever you want. We'll also work with you guys. We understand that you had a difficult time with OpenGov. We want to work with the city. If you're interested in moving forward, we'll work out something to ensure.
I'll be quite frank. My concern is not necessarily the transparency piece right now. My concern is more about the budgeting piece, primarily because where we're at in the year. The need to start the budget process, which we started already this year, in the sense of gearing up. We're meeting this week to start that process. But that's the tool that I can foresee being a bit more beneficial for the city right now.
So if we only purchased the budgeting component of this and it were prorated, we would have the money budgeted to pay for this? Is that,
Well,
Rich, is that?
that would really be up to Rob, I think, to work with us and.
Oh, true, that's true too. Okay, well, I would want to know that. I'm sure
Yeah,
the
of
councilors
course.
would too.
Well, I mean, like that's the kind of priming this, I'm not
Mhm.
looking at spending more than what we've budgeted for this kind of software right now anyway, especially for this year. Next year might be a different conversation.
Right,
If we want to expand that entire package. Excuse me. So yeah.
all right, so I'll be looking for that update then.
Any other questions on this one? Any questions for Rob?
No, thank you, Rob.
No, thank you.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you all so much.
Okay, great. 2.2, discussion IT update from SimQuest. I believe we have some folks from SimQuest here to update us on the work that they've been doing.
I'm actually be joining over real soon.
Yeah.
Can everyone hear me?
Yeah,
Sorry, I apologize for that. We had a glitch on the internet here right as you were introducing me. So I apologize for that. I'm going to share my screen here. Everybody can see my screen okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So thanks everybody for having me here. My name is Matt Keefe. I'm an account manager with SimQuest, managing the relationship that we have together through managed services.
Hey,
And
Matt,
I'm here. Yep.
Matt, can you hold on one moment? We're having problems hearing you.
Okay.
Just one sec. We're trying to work some stuff out here. Should be better.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
How's that?
Much better.
It's better.
Excellent. So I'm here to, and thank you for having me, by the way. I'm here to provide a current status report for our activities through the managed IT relationship that we have with the city. And really our relationship and most of our focused activity is centered around helping the city realize a strategic vision of transitioning the city to more stable, secure, efficient, recoverable, flexible, and scalable network applications and foundations. And each one of those words does have meaning. I crammed them all in there. So, but that's really the goal. All of those things together really will help the city execute a vision, going forward. And really the way that we've been working together with the city so far to accomplish this is been, through the identification of, necessary upgrades throughout the network and remediating vulnerable and outdated technologies and systems for legacy systems that have been around for some time. And that is really the end goal, is simplifying the infrastructure and to help standardize your operating systems and applications. And really, in whether it's 6 months from now, a year from now, or two years from now, I think the city is setting a really great pace in executing this vision sooner than probably they might have thought not too long ago. But we want to help you guys do the things you want to do. And a couple of those things is really simplifying your overall IT infrastructure and simplifying the manage of it long term. We also want to help you enhance security capabilities and then plan a design which can help you move towards cloud services that are appropriate and tailored uniquely to the city. Right now, the city's network, and the reason I have this screen up, and this isn't going to be a long talk, but the reason I have this up is I think it's important to always refer back to visuals when we're talking about the network. And your network, like so many others, has a technology footprint, and we assess and manage and plan forward according to best practice across several domains of technology. So when we think about the city, I'm talking about the different domains of technology. And I know this is fairly elementary, but we're looking at network infrastructure, which is over to the left columns of this diagram, which is comprised of your firewalls and switches. The next domain of technology is basically the engine of the network, right? It's your host servers and your virtual machines, which basically manage all of your personnel, administrative rights, applications, file and print sharing, and all of these things. And then your workstation infrastructure. And then lastly, the disaster recovery, business continuity, and backup infrastructure. And those kind of round out the traditional network design. And they're, all of these things are items unto themselves. And we kind of have been starting to address these things. And I'll get into projects here shortly. But we address these things many times categorically. And then, and you try to prioritize these things to continue to construct the vision. When you put them all back together, what you have is, the city network, right? And you have all your sites and you have all of your network components, and all of these things are working together, or should be working together well. And the idea behind where the city is going is really that we want to simplify the design of the network and deliver on all of those things that I stated earlier. So as far as an update right now, there's several initiatives that SimQuest is presently working on and at various stages in the process. You might recall the disaster recovery initiative that we had worked together on. That was to ensure that we could get your server infrastructure and applications and everything backed up. As of 5 o'clock this evening, I received an update from Chris Peterman in our NOC, basically saying that we had 40 of the servers, so all of the servers built up into the Datto appliances, and we should be live with at least 8 of those servers tonight, fully replicating, with the plan that the full DR replication will be in place by the end of the week. So that kind of closes out the disaster recovery component just from a straight project update status. The next thing that and if anybody wants to stop me, please feel free, or we can just question and answers afterwards. Another project that we had going, where if you look at the diagram here, all of these firewalls being that part of the network infrastructure domain, was something that we identified as, again, a key critical factor for the city to upgrade its security perimeter. What happened when we started to deploy these services at a couple of locations is we really encountered some complexity within the existing firewall, sonic wall environment that's going to make this deployment take a bit more time to fully roll out. And the other thing that the next layer inside your services, as I said, these technologies interrelate, is your switch infrastructure here. And your switch infrastructure is really important for everything that the city is going to want to do in the future. It facilitates all of your internet communication in and out, and also the network-wide communication across all of your sites and all of your connections. And one of the things we identified through our initial assessment is that much of the switch infrastructure is very old, it's end of life, and needs to be replaced. Our original thought was we would do the security upgrades around the perimeter and come back in and do switches at a later date. That's still a possibility. We can still do that. But one of the things that we wanted to slow down just a bit on the firewall implementation was when we realized the complexity of the firewalls you have today and what would be entailed, that coming back later to do a switch project separate from this would really become a duplication of effort, and almost like the city would have to spend money twice to accomplish the same thing. So we wanted to kind of put a pause on that so that we could evaluate what the cost of the switches that needed to be replaced would be, and how that could look for you guys on an operating expense basis if it was just pulled together with the existing security agreement. And or alternatively, if you did want to hold off and handle it as a separate project at a date yet to be determined, that we could at least provide you with what that cost and plan would look like, and what switch infrastructure would recommend you go with, so that you have two options, right? Just try to create some flexibility for you guys, but think about that spend as if it's our own money. So what the status of that project, this firewall project, is really just contingent upon what you all decide to do with the switching. And I'll be scheduling a meeting with Mayor Rosenquist late during the week of the 19th, so late next week, to review. We performed a hosted assessment to determine how we could help the city move their, what elements of the network could be removed from the environment and placed in cloud infrastructure, thereby eliminating the complexity of management in the site, also getting rid of obsolescence of hardware and operating systems and all of these things, so that the city could be, quote, forever scalable in the data center, and kind of eliminate these, once every 5 years, once every 8 years, however long, typical environment would go, tech refresh cycles, which, every 5 years you look at these things, it's, hey, we spent several $100,000s 5 years ago, here we go again, we have to do that again. We're helping, with the server approach, with the cloud approach, we're kind of looking at, getting rid of those aspects of the traditional infrastructure. The hosted assessment for your infrastructure is complete. Right now, we're in the process of compiling the formal reports and recommendations. So during the meeting with the mayor late in the week of the 19th, we will have assessment reports as deliverables, all of our recommendations and findings, financial summary, and a proposed schedule of events or timeline associated with what it would take for the city to go to a hosted environment. And there's 3.5 options there. There's 3 to 4 options really for the city that we've identified at this point, which I'm really looking forward to sharing with the mayor. And we've also completed a hosted voice assessment for you all. And again, the switches are so important because if you're thinking about when we're looking at going hosted, we want to make sure that yes, the security perimeters secure, and then the switch infrastructure is actually able to handle the needs of being more internet dependent. So it's a critical component as we go forward into the plan. And the hosted voice assessment, whether or not you opt for to go with a hosted voice solution from SimQuest, what it did for us is it helped us help plan out what the switching that will be suitable for you guys for both a hosted move of your infrastructure and applications, and that you can properly plan forward for a hosted voice implementation in the future when you see that is fit. And so right now, the last thing that we were really looking at was the switching, and I will have that information together, project cost and or operating expense together as well for the mayor on the 19th. Once we have reviewed these things next week, that takes up the bulk of the big strategic vision, planning, and projects for the city. There won't be a whole lot after that. You guys have moved pretty quickly, and we're through all these assessments and this kind of layered approach to looking at your network. We will have a pretty firm budget for you folks to consider, and several different ways that you can approach it that would give you flexibility of choice and ways that you can handle it. And of course, we can be there to help make sure that whatever you want to see happen, happens. Those were the big projects that we have, and we're finally coming around the corner to having everything on paper for you in terms of review and understanding how it will all work.
Questions?
Wow.
Matt, thank you. Looking forward to having this next conversation. I'm certainly of the mindset that moving to a cloud platform is probably the better thing for us to do. I understand that there might not be everything that transitions to the cloud. That's just the nature of the servers that we have and the use of those servers, but it'll be a good thing to explore.
Yeah, I think you'll be pleased. And you're right, there might be a couple things that might not be the best fit for the cloud, but overall, I think that you're going to be really happy to see how we'll really be able to simplify the environment once we really get into the details of everything.
Yeah. And just so Councilor Kelly is here, they do know about the search issue. They are looking into it right now.
Oh, okay.
And that should be corrected here shortly.
Yeah, the search function doesn't work at all.
Yes, that's right.
I did have one question.
Yes.
Are we still engaging the support of, are they called level 8?
Layer 8, yes, we are. And at some point, we did get everybody into a room to talk about overlap of service, overlap of responsibility. We'll continue to do that. And as we start to shift responsibility in terms of both the infrastructure support, but then the end user support, that may change.
Who's doing the desktop support?
Layer 8 is doing the end user support right now.
Okay.
Right. And so when SimQuest came on, this was their primary focus, was the focus on the infrastructure piece.
Yeah.
And as that kind of ramps down and changes focus or changes focus, that may change.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for Matt? All right, thanks, Matt.
All right, thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Thank you. In addition to the IT infrastructure for the entire city, the police department also has their own IT update, primarily from the servers that are hosted there, as well as the different car requirements, computers in their cars. If you guys want to just give an update on your projects.
Mayor, I was also hoping that we could talk about any existing network vulnerabilities for the police department, which I don't think should be done here. I was hoping we could have an executive session.
Sure.
No, Dean, are you saying no?
Yeah,
I'm
Yes?
saying, yeah.
Okay.
we can do that. It would be nice to have Matt on there because in the entire bubble of the city, SimQuest manages the security, just like they had presented
Yeah,
to us before.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Okay,
And I was hoping, is it Borofsky?
Casey.
Yeah, I was hoping she could be part of it. Didn't she prepare?
Yeah, but this is a separate IT issue for specific to PD, which is their internal infrastructure, software requirements for certifications, as well as all of their car requirements, all of their IT car requirements, which is not covered by SimQuest. SimQuest is just the network infrastructure, firewall infrastructure, security.
Mhm.
This is a different kind of like beast here. And it was identified that this was separate when Carl is getting pulled back and forth trying to manage SimQuest. And we've got cars, PD cars that don't have computers set up and infrastructure issues that are failing. And that it's kind of unique to these folks that SimQuest is not managing.
Okay, so can I request an executive session then for this
Sure.
report?
Sure. For that separate
For this,
report.
yes.
This is a different report. This is a different report.
Okay, so he's gonna do that and then I would
Yes.
like, okay,
Yes.
sorry.
That's okay. Okay. So as far as the report that I'm prepared to provide, much of it has to do with the IT assessment that Mrs. Karofsky provided to us, which began in May. As you mentioned, Mayor, we have identified several deficiencies within our IT program that range from the workstations that the police officers use to complete reports, and to most notable would be our technology in the vehicles. And that technology consists of an in-car computer, camera systems, connectivity in the form of, essentially it's an office away from the police department. But we do have, network connectivity issues that we've identified, and it's become disruptive and very difficult for the officers to complete their duties as a result. So back in May, I reached out to the mayor's office to request a little bit of help in identifying the shortcomings that we've seen. And we contracted with Mrs. Karofsky to do an assessment of the IT within the department, and a report was generated, and I'd be happy to discuss that in the executive session. But currently, we do continue to experience these problems. We have several cars that don't have computers, several cars that have computers, but the operating systems are not compatible with our network. They need to be upgraded. We have new cars that we've purchased that we've got hardware for, but we don't have them installed. And as a result, for just one example would be the uniform traffic tickets. To write traffic tickets these days, it's set up on a server, it's set up on a system where the traffic ticket is automatically transmitted to City Court, to Albany, to our own servers, and we don't have the hardware capabilities to actually do that. So our officers are writing paper tickets, which isn't compatible with City Court. And City Court calls me on a weekly basis, hey, what's going on with your in-car computers? So it's disruptive, to say the least. Our computer-aided dispatch hasn't worked since 2018. We have end-of-life operating systems. They're operating well beyond end of life. Nothing is compatible with Windows 7. Everything requires Windows 10. We only have 3 of our 6 operating systems that are upgraded to Windows 10. That's a nutshell, but the report is far more comprehensive, and Mrs. Krofsky could answer any questions in the executive session if issues.
Okay, I'd like to request an executive session so we could talk about police IT that would,
Public safety.
yes,
Well, I'd like to do that at the end. We have a number of resolutions. We can just push that to the end, can we?
okay, absolutely, okay.
Because Matt's also available on the phone too for an executive session too. So we'll call him in.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, community events. Courtney, get a review 4th of July battle. Or, geez, I really want to have Battle of Plattsburgh right now. 4th of July
Gotta wait.
Mayor's Cup. Future event planning.
Yeah, we had a really busy last couple of weeks. It kicked off with the Anderson mural dedication happening before the 4th of July parade. That was a really positive turnout. The family of Michael Anderson was there. We had a beautiful performance from Plattsburgh State Gospel Choir, some really moving speeches. I think the community was really appreciative of having something to honor Michael Anderson in our community. That was followed by our 4th of July parade, which we also received really positive feedback on. We had a debrief with fire and PD and DPW. They all said that, operations went smoothly. There were no major issues. If there was anything we could change or, do in the future, they said, keep it the same. Things were working really well. Fireworks that night also happened. We had the location behind the wastewater treatment plant, made sure that we, shot things off into the lake to avoid, public safety concerns, and all of that went as planned. We also had a fire truck stationed up on Cumberland Avenue, which was addressing some of the residents on Cumberland Avenue, their concerns, because that area does seem to get quite congested. And so people were happy with having fire visible in that area of the city too. So all in all, that weekend was busy, but really successful. I'll keep moving on to next weekend. We had Mayor's Cup at the City Beach. I don't know if anybody went down there. I was down there on Saturday, and it was just a really lovely vibe. I think the beach is a really nice home for the Mayor's Cup. I connected with Sunrise Rotary this morning just to book a debrief and just see how their perception of things went. But so far, I've heard really good things. Skippy and the folks at the beach did a really great job of supporting them throughout that event, making sure they had tables and chairs, everything that was necessary. And then yesterday we hosted the community bike ride, which we had a really great turnout. There was over 75 people that came out to give us their feedback on the proposed bike plan. We heard a lot of really positive things, just thankful that the city is making this a focus, that there's emphasis being put on infrastructure. Also the need to make sure that there's public awareness raising and public education when it comes to how pedestrians, bikers, and cars can all share our roads and our pathways in our city. So that's going to be a continued project that community development and the mayor will be working on. We're going to be holding another community feedback session on the 22nd of July. 22nd. So overall, I'm being brief because of time, but if anybody had any questions about any specific events, I'd be happy to answer them. Okay. Looking ahead is, of course, a big weekend, Battle of Plattsburgh in September. The 1814 Incorporated group has been really busy doing all of the details and planning the events. They had a press conference earlier this week, and I'll be meeting with the leaders of all the different committees just to understand how the city's supporting and what their needs are for us. So that's going to be another big shift in effort for us. Looking ahead, also the Arts Park will be completed hopefully in the next couple months, and I think doing a grand opening event just to honor that will be something that we'll be working on as well. So bringing in some music, potentially partnering with our friends at the Strand, bringing in the artists who were recently chosen to install sculptures in the park. So just making that another really fun, engaging community event to mark another accomplishment in our city. So That's what we have looking forward. Exciting stuff.
Thank you.
Great.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, moving on to resolution, 3.1 draft resolution authorizing Grace Avenue closure for neighborhood block party. Motion. Councilor Gibbs, second. Councilor Canals, discussion. Roll call, or all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. 3.2 draft resolution authorizing street closure of Brinckerhoff, Marion to Margaret. Motion. Councilor Gibbs, second. Councilor Canals, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. 3.3 draft resolution authorizing the procurement policies and procedure for the city of Plattsburgh as revised. Motion. Councilor Canales, second by Councilor Gibbs. Discussion. This was an update to the procurement policy based on the recommendations of the ethics board. And as per the justification, even though that the city New York State ethics guidelines address the issue, it was felt that the ethics board wanted to include city employee policy procurement guidelines for further clarification. So we were provided with a memo from the board, as well as the updated language in the procurement policy, which is the 4th page from the back. I believe everybody has it highlighted. Okay, it's just an amendment to that procurement policy
Okay.
using the language provided by the ethics board. Any questions, discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. We will now have an opportunity for public comment for anybody who would like to comment. Seeing none, is there any new business coming for this committee?
Well, I do have something. It's not actually new business. It's old business that we brought up a few months ago.
Old business for this committee?
Yes.
Okay.
That we brought it up a few months ago when I was contacted by a constituent and asked if we had planned on doing a citywide yard sale.
Yes.
And now that you are employed, I wanted to bring that up again to see if that's something that, I don't know if that's something that we have any interest in. We had talked about it, and I don't know if that's something that this committee wants to pursue.
I think now that, because originally it was going to be on the community development office, so now that we have somebody to manage it, I think it's a little bit more manageable. So I think it's talk about it. Yeah, we'll come back with a plan or dates.
Yeah, that would be nice. I was asked by a constituent if we'd planned on doing it, and we talked about it before you were hired. So
is there a recommendation on a timeline? Like
we randomly.
When there's good weather.
Yeah, we just picked a random date. We're like, how about such a?
Yeah.
It was all just kind of random, and we thought it would be. Well, we had talked about. I don't know if this is something you want to implement, but we had discussed making it where people provide their names and addresses so that there could be some kind of map to the people, the homes that are participating, so people would know. That's something that we had talked about. So.
You can figure out a model. Yeah.
Did anybody ever have like a centralized area where people could bring their things and set up tables?
Thought about that.
I think we wanted to avoid that.
We wanted to, yeah. We thought it would be better if people wanted to participate, they could submit their names and addresses or just their addresses to create kind of like a map. Or not. I mean, you could easily, I suppose, just put your stuff. Like where I live on Ruger Street, I don't have to leave anything out for long. People come by very quickly. So those are the things that we had talked about. We talked about creating a central location, and we didn't want to do it that way.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to talk with some of the other community groups that do similar things. Like I know Rotary did a huge community sale with all proceeds going towards something, and so maybe there'd be a way to have everyone in our community doing their garage sales, but have sort of some accessory events that feel like they're, for a cause too. If organizations wanted to coordinate and have sales and then, fundraise the proceeds for something or just kind of make it something with a cause as well. I can see what was done in the past and then bring something together.
Cool,
Yeah, that'd be great.
cool. I'll now take a motion to go into executive session to discuss an item that could imperil public safety if publicly disclosed. Motion by Councilor Gibbs, second by Councilor Canales. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're now in executive session.
Can we invite Ms. Krofsky to come with us into the meeting as well as Captain Drury? Is that okay?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna meet in my office. Okay, got our phone in there to the conference call.
I hate these chairs so much.
Did Jeff stay?
I think they both left.
Okay. Motion to come out of the executive session, motion by Councilor Gibbs, second by Councilor Canales, all in favor?
Hi.
There was no action taken in executive session. If there is no new business coming before this committee, I'll take a motion to adjourn. Councilor Canales, second by Councilor Gibbs. We are now adjourned. It is 6:00.